Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's 1010 webinar that will invite you to listen to the joint initiative on standardization 2 years later. So we will give you an update on the achievements and the current discussions ongoing in relation to this initiative. My name is Els, and I will be the webinar moderator of today. Yes, thank you. And I just wanted to tell you that you're all muted. So please use the question box in the GoToWebinar control panel so that you can enter your questions there. We will have a look at the questions after the presentation. Should your question not be replied, you do not have to worry because the questions and the answers will be uploaded on the website as soon as possible, and you will be informed about that also as soon as possible. Should you be on Twitter, please feel free to tweet about this webinar. Use the hashtag 1010webinar to let us know. So let me introduce you the speaker of today. His name is Alberto Simeone, and he is the Customer Solution Manager for Members Technical Boards in the Standardization and Digital Solutions Unit. So please, Alberto, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Els, and good morning, everybody. So today we will focus on the joint initiative on standardization, and in particular on the 5 actions under SEN and SENELEC lead. Just a few words on the joint initiative on standardization. Maybe you are familiar with the acronym JIS. This is an initiative launched in June 2016 with the aim of modernizing the European standardization system. More than 100 organizations signed this initiative, so the European Commission, of course, the European standards organizations, the national standard bodies, member states, and then we have a good number of national and European trade associations, and we have also the European associations representing societal interest and other organizations. What is this about? This is about on the agreement on a joint vision for European standardization, and 15 actions have been identified in order to make this vision concrete. So we are on the way to implement the actions, and this initiative is supposed to close at the end of 2019, so we have 1 year left. It's important to remind that this initiative is not legally binding and is not construed in any way as replacing or interpreting the existing legal framework. For more information, here you will find the hyperlink to the web page on the joint initiative, so you will have a clear view of what are the 15 actions. Because today we will focus on the 5 actions under SEN or SENELEC lead. I will read the titles when I will go one by one. Let's start with JIS Action 5. This is a pilot project aiding the implementation of the construction products regulation through standards. It is important to underline that CPR, so the construction products regulation, is one of the most relevant domains for standards activities, but also for, of course, the GDP in Europe. And this actually is the only domain where there is a sectorial JIS action. So, given the complexity of the CPR, the signatories decided to have a specific action on this sector. And so what is the scope of JIS Action 5? Is to develop a common understanding of the role of harmonized standards under CPR, including the role of the different actors, to clarify the use of simplified procedures for amending existing mandates, and to enhance the process of adding new classes and threshold levels to harmonized standards. So, as you can see, we start from a common understanding of the role of standards, just as an evidence that this CPR is a particular sector and needs a specific JIS action. Lead is on SEN. Here you will see the sponsors. A sponsor means basically those organizations among the signatories that you saw in the previous slides that are interested to contribute in this specific Action 5. As you can see, we have member states, Belgium, France, Germany, but of course we have national standard bodies, AFNOR, BSI, DIN, NBN, CIS, UNI, but also associations, industry associations, sectorial, like CPE, so the construction products, the European Association of Construction Products, and FIEC, the Federation of the Industry of Constructions, and also we have a national trade association, Danish Industry. So in order to meet the objectives, an action plan has been defined on five actions have been identified. I will go through each of them. The current, the first action is the promotion of a common understanding of the role of standards in the CPR context, including clear definitions of the role of the different actors. So the group work in order to develop guidance material, and this is still an ongoing activities, train the trainers, and also disseminate the guidance information to standardizers and all the other actors. As a first outcome of this Action 1, a few days ago, it has been organized by Sensenelec, with the cooperation also of the European Commission, a workshop on the construction products regulation. Title is Harmonized European Standards under the Construction Products Regulation, Essentials for Drafting Standards. We had sold out here at the CCMC. It was focused on understand the lessons that were learned from the non-citation of harmonized standards in the official journal of the European Union under the CPR legislation, and also informative presentation on recent updates within the construction sector related to mandates, standard, and the new framework for the consultants for harmonized standards. So during the workshop have been covered the following areas: guidance for the elaboration of harmonized standard under CPR, with the SEN and also the point of view of the European Commission. Then a guidance for assessment and verification of constancy of performance clauses, approach for including dangerous substances in harmonized standards, and also the template for preparing answer to mandates, standardization requests, and classes and thresholds. The second action in the action plan is to explore and clarify the use of simplified procedure for amending existing mandates. I will not say much more about that, because in the meeting of the Committee of Standards in May 2018, the Committee of Standards is the committee that under Regulation 1025 has the responsibility to approve the standardization request. It has been decided that there will not be any more simplified procedure for amending existing mandates, but the full process of a standardization request. Action 3 is about to streamline the process of introducing new classes and threshold levels into harmonized standards. If you remind, a few slides ago, I said that in the workshop had been presented the document, the template to request classes and thresholds, and the group is focusing on a document explaining the process of delegated acts. The fourth action is streamline process for timely revision and citation of harmonized standards through collaborative effort. It means that the group has identified and classified and prioritized issues currently preventing the publication of standards. As I said, in the construction sector, there are still a number of candidate standards that should be harmonized under the CPR. And then the group agree on an action priority plan to address specific issues identified under the previous action, develop relevant procedures to speed up the amendment of European standards when changes may be justified, and are currently working for the development of do's and don'ts document for technical committees in order to guide them, and this will be, of course, part of the full guidance material. Concerning the last action, to ensure continued availability of CPR, as I said, now we have a legal framework for HS consultants that entered into force in April 2018. At the time when the action has been designed, there was the issue of ensuring the continued availability, and this has been a guarantee under the new framework. So, achievements. The most relevant issues and guidance material were identified, and the drafting phase is ongoing and is progressing substantially. The flowchart of the overall process on how to develop harmonized standards under CPR is available. There is a very good interaction with the BT Working Group 9 Strategy for Construction Sector. And the training for TCs has started with a workshop of a few weeks ago. Our national members are invited to consider organization of similar workshop in their country, and so also having to present the outcomes of JIS Action 5 in 2019 will be under the radar. Some issues: lack of progress of non-citation, different views on the need to harmonize the complete harmonized standards, still additional characteristics not included in mandate should be decided upon, and there is some uncertainty that comes from European court cases on the harmonized standards under CPR. A specific workshop is foreseen in the next months in cooperation with the European Commission to solve the non-citation. Now we cover Action 8, one of the most important actions because it's about develop high-quality standards delivered and referenced in a timely manner. The objectives is to improve timelines and quality of standards based on market and public needs, from the preparation of standardization requests to the citation of standards. So this action actually is covering the full process, from zero, even drafting the annual UniWork program, until the final citation of standards in the official journal. This is the lead, under the lead of SEN, in strong cooperation with the DIN, German standard body. A long list of sponsors and evidence of how relevant is this action. And the action plan has been split in 4 work items. I will go one by one. So the first work item is all what is about the standardization request development process. And the group, under work item 1, has, I would say, progressed well to define a list of recommendations to the European Commission on how to improve the preparatory stage of the annual UniWork program. You may be aware that the annual UniWork program is a planning tool that has been introduced with the new regulation 1025 according Article 8. The one for 2019 has been approved in October 2018, and so the group had tried to give some recommendation to the European Commission in order to improve it. And under this work item, SENELEC has committed to improve the way the standardizer community can prepare some work at home before the new standard request is issued. We have created the mechanism called SHRAC. That means ad hoc group for new standardization request. That basically is a group that SEN and SENELEC, through their national members, convene in order to discuss the preliminary draft on standardization request when made available by the European Commission. And of course, we want that ISO and IC can participate in this group to understand if there is a need or an opportunity to develop future standards already at international level. Under this work item, we had discussion also on the model that should be followed for future standardization requests. There is an open, ongoing discussion that actually is not happening within JIS Action 8, but is currently discussed at the Committee of Standards about the future standardization request for the personal protective equipment, and the way these standardization requests will be shaped. This will be a blueprint also for for future standardization requests in all the fields. So this is very important that European Commission, but also the standardizers community can have, and also of course all the stakeholders in standardization may have a common understanding and agreement. Work item 2 is about the standardization development process, so how to improve it. This is basically this is an action on the ISOs. In SEN and SENELEC, we have approved the principles for a new process to make it more flexible, with let's say, by optimizing time for standards developing, that also hopefully may lead to saving time to market of standards. And we are in the phases of the implementation plan, so make this principle feasible with clear details of what is how the process is supposed to work. And the work under the standards development process has been, by the way, impacted by the new framework of the consultants for harmonized standards that I said before has been entered into force in April 2018. That is covered, actually, is the main outcome under the work item number 3, assessment of candidate harmonized standards and publication of their reference in the official journal. So this is the final part, and of course this new framework is the main novelty and is the way the consultants that actually are tasked by the European Commission interact with us in order to ensure that the standards meet the essential requirements provided in the legislation. And at the moment, a new process on how this interaction should work has been agreed, covering, of course, legal and copyright aspects, how to exchange documents, because in this new framework, the European Commission has subcontracted an external association, an external organization in order to manage the several HS consultants. And so at the moment we are discussing how to deal with the assessment request, also try to provide guidance to technical committees when these assessment requests should be issued, how to do it, what to do if the standards is not compliant, and how to ensure the timely delivery both of the assessment request and also of standards. The fourth work item is a very forward-looking concept, try to understand how digital future opportunities can help the standard development and can help the timely delivery and citation of standards. So how basically digitization can bring benefit for terms of definition of standards on normative references, Annex ZA or ZZ in Senelec. For instance, digital standards may facilitate the setting up of dynamic link between the content of the standards and the essential requirements. Also, external source links could be easily managed with the digitization of standards. And this work item 4 is keeping a close eye on the current ongoing Senelec projects for online authoring and machine-readable standards. Especially these two areas are very relevant for the citation of harmonized standards. We go to Action 12. This is about the greater development and use of European service standards to help integrate Europe's service markets. I would say that this action has progressed very, very well. The scope is to promote, where appropriate, the increased development and use of market-driven European service standards to benefit European business and consumers through a better identification and prioritization of areas, increased awareness and understanding of service standardization, greater involvement of service providers and users in service standardization. Of course, we need all the stakeholders to be on board. And this is the implementation of the action plan set out in the strategic plan on service standardization in response to the Ambition 2020, that is basically the SEN strategy on service standards. We have a good number of very active and participating organizations. Here you can see the list. As you can see, member states, national standard bodies, European trade associations, and also in the field of service, and of course the European Commission that is participating in all the actions. So first of all, we have a strategy. So a SEN service strategy has been approved in August 2017, and now we come to the implementation of these strategies. The focus of the strategy is on what are the specificities and challenges of service standards, what types of service standards exist, what are the market trends that may impact the service delivery. So there is some intelligence gathering about that. And then there is the identification of priority sectors with which to start a dialogue, and then have a clear action plan to implement the strategy developed by the strategic advisory group on services. I should mention that actually what we call SAGS, so is this strategy advisory group on services, has been the platform where all the JIS Action 12 group has been hosted and participating actively in discussion. So it means fully integrated in SEN platforms. This is the full action plan foreseen under the SEN strategy. You will see that there are some actions that are open, so it's ongoing the development of an awareness raising package, and is ongoing in red the activity to contact the identified priority sectors with which to engage. I will focus on those actions that are open and more relevant. So the group decided that it is very important to have an awareness raising campaign on service standardization, and the expected deliverable are a communication package on service standardization with video, infographics, success stories in service standardization, social media campaign, etc. So this is under development in a specific working group under SAGS. And then the identification of priority sectors actually came to a happy end the group started. It has been a very challenging job because the group started with a pre-selection of 88 service sectors coming from the NACE codes. And the methodology foreseen in the strategy has been identified, has been applied, and this methodology, along a very deep mapping of published standards, of published service standards at European, international, and national level, along with a survey of technical committees that could have been interested in service standard to, I would say, complement their activities on the products. So the concept of servitization of traditional product technical committees means what are the services that could support the products. Well, all these lead to the identification of 4 service sectors that will be prioritized for engaging. These are the retail trade, except of motor vehicles and motorcycles, the waste collection, treatment and disposal activities, materials recovery, so we're in the environmental service, wholesale and retail trade and repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles, motion picture, video and television program production, sound recording and music publishing activities. It means that now currently the group is focusing on how to engage the national European associations that works on those 4 identified sectors. A webinar is foreseen on the servitization of manufacturing industry standards perspectives, and also it's important, according to JIS Action 12, that other JIS actions should take the service angle into account. Action 13. Action 13, the original title is to promote the European regulatory model supported by voluntary standard, and it's closely linked to international standardization in third countries. I say that this is the original title because in the last steering group of the joint initiative, that is, let's say, the brain is the making decision body for the joint initiative, SEN and SENELEC, we have proposed to revise this action. Actually, under this action, an action plan was already agreed by the Action 13 sponsors, but this action plan has never progressed. And so we thought that maybe the action plan had to be revised to make it feasible. During the steering group, also the title has been challenged by some participants, so this action is under review. This is about the this is part of the international strategy of SEN and SENELEC. So we want really to make something concrete and make something that is useful for the system. Of course, in SEN and SENELEC we have been working in order to revise this action plan, and so first of all to understand where we want to go, where we want to start, which regions, with which foreign partners we want to improve our partnership. And so in January 2018, the policy groups of SEN and SENELEC create a working group on the prioritization of foreign partnership. And this group came out with the following 5 partnerships that correspond to regions and countries. So, to be prioritized, the partnership with ARSO and AFSEC, the 2 African regional organizations, with SAC, the China standard body, of course, making full use of the project of CESEC, that is the seconded European standardization expert in China, with a JSO, so in the Gulf region, with JISC, the Japan Standards Organization, and also with the BIS and the regional organization SARSO in the Indian region, and SARSO is encompassing other countries in that region. And of course, also in this case, making a full use of the second project that we have with a seconded expert in India. And so 5 task forces have been created in order to understand what exactly we should, what we expect this partnership may deliver. And currently they are in the drafting phase of identifying specific and customized roadmaps for each partner. And so mid and long-term objectives will be defined, and also an action plan starting from next year. The previous partners have been already met, and of course the General Meeting and General Assembly of ISO are already good starting points. But in the future, bilateral meeting will happen, of course, and task forces will deliver the final roadmaps and action plans for the for the approval of the policy groups, and of course, then this will be brought to the JIS steering group if there is an interest to have an action on international strategy under the joint initiative. And then, of course, we come to the implementation of roadmaps and action plans. And so in 2019, the task forces are supposed to monitor the progress of each roadmap. And at the end of 2019, they will start working on the action plan for 2020. So the idea is to start now a road that will not finish with the end of a joint initiative, but of course this will constitute the part of the international strategy of Senelec. Then we come to the last action, Action 14, Standardization to support digitization of European industry. Here the focus is, here the main objective is to establish links and identify common standardization needs for digital transformation of industry, and have coordinated standardization response to European policy objectives. The context is mainly advanced manufacturing of products, processes and systems, including robotics. Here the leaders are the 3 European standard bodies, so Senelec and ETSI. On behalf of Senelec, a relevant role is played by the BT Working Group 6 on ICT policies. This is the list of sponsors, and of course you can see that apart that there are member states, European Commission, national standard bodies, and also European and national industry association. So the aim, as I said, is to establish links with the current initiatives at the national level and at European level. Actually, there was I would say that digitization of industry is one of the main trends now in the economy, and so there was so many initiatives came out, especially at European level, and with the participation of the European Commission and the leadership of the European Commission. Thus, let's say, imposing to JIS Action 14 a reflection on how to work in parallel or how to cooperate with these other initiatives. Here we have a list of the initiatives dealing with the digital transformation of industry. In particular, the first action plan of JIS Action 14 that you can see on the left part of the screen is almost identical to the action plan decided in the multi-stakeholder platform, in the working group on standardization of the multi-stakeholder platform and digitization of European industry initiative, led by the European Commission, with also the standards community invited and also industry. So there is no benefit in replicating the same activities into separate platforms where more or less there are the same actors. Then JIS Action 14 and through ICT BT Working Group ICT 6 is deeply cooperating in the working group MSP DEI to develop a model for the synchronization of the various standardization activities at member state level and also at European level, and also take into account the global context, map the ongoing activities carried out by the European standard bodies, other SDOs, foreign consortia, and the public-private partnerships launched by the European Commissions, also making use of the trilateral cooperation, Germany, Italy, France, other research projects, so all actually what is happening at European and national level. Identifying as a starting point the standardization needs in the manufacturing sector, which might serve as a blueprint for other domains in the future, and propose a first roadmap taking into account existing work such as national standardization roadmaps and other related work. Specify concrete action that may be included in the rolling plan for ICT standardization. The working group MSPDI will deliver a report by the end of 2018. And so for sake of efficiency, of effectiveness, JIS Action 14 will start focusing on those areas that are not covered by the MSPDI initiative. In particular, a workshop is, JIS 14 is planning to organize a workshop in the first half of 2019 to address one of the subjects not tackled by other initiatives, so the roles of pilot projects, test beds and field labs in support of the development of standardization solutions for digital transformation of the European industry. On the basis of the outcomes of this workshop, JIS Action 14 will provide a report with a recommendation to serve as JIS Action 14 Group's contribution to the European Commission in order to complement the work in the working group MSP DEI. And now we come to the final slides. We are more or less on time, 20 minutes to the end. So key learning points. These 2 years show that the joint initiative revealed to be useful. It provides through the JIS Action, the JIS Actions group, a useful informal platforms where to exchange views, understand each other's. There are anyway challenges when the group is confronted with a legal framework, because as it is clearly stated in the genesis of the joint initiative, this is not supposed to redraft or to reinterpret the legal framework. And so, for instance, when we discuss how to improve the annual unit work program or also the standardization request, anyway, these are elements that are part of the Regulation 1025. So it's not easy to progress. And so let's say that commitment from participants cannot be ensured, because what is discussed in the groups then have to be also approved from each participant by the relevant governing bodies. In some actions, we have few achievements, I would say mainly due to a lack of resources, because I can make you sure that the JIS actions can take time, organizing the meetings, preparing the meetings, and also the follow-up and progress, and also to implement the action plan once they've been agreed. For instance, in the case of Action 13, we had to revise the action plan, even if that was approved by the JIS Action 13 participants, because there was no progress. And I think that we are 1 year to the end of JIS actions, and we need to progress on those that the group, the stakeholders, consider more relevant.